Hello, students of class 8. I hope you are well. Today we are going to read the poem When I Set Out for Lyonnesse from your book Honeydew. Before reading the poem, let's learn something about our poet Thomas Hardy. I hope you remember that in the very first chapter of your book Honeydew, you have learned the name of this author. Do you remember the name of the chapter? Yes, the best Christmas present. There you have already heard about this author, and you have also read the name of one of his famous works, Far from the Mating Crowd. What else do we know about Thomas Hardy? Thomas Hardy was born in England on 2nd June 1840. When he was a young man, he tried writing and he was influenced by various famous people like Charles Swinburne, Robert Browning, Charles Darwin. Though he later proved to be an excellent writer, his very first manuscript, The Poor Man and the Lady, was rejected by several publishers. But later, as we know now, he became one of the most favorite English authors ever. Not only he wrote a lot of short stories and novels, he also wrote almost 900 poems. See the name of the poem, When I Set Out for Lyonnesse. So, what is this place, Lyonnesse? Lyonnesse, we hear about this place first in Celtic mythology. In Celtic mythology, in Arthurian legend, we hear that this place was the birthplace of the famous Sir Tristram. Lyonnesse, it actually means the land of lions, city of lions. There are legends, though we do not know for sure, there are legends that many myths tells us that this land was very, very beautiful and it contained of 140 churches. The land was actually very famous for churches, but it was swallowed, it was drowned in the ocean on a single night. So that is why this land became so mysterious. In this poem, when we see, the poet obviously doesn't actually go to the place Lyonnesse because this is a mythical place. But by the name of this area, the poet imparts an air of magic and mysticism. So the name of the place Lyonnesse actually refers to a mythical place. According to the biography of Thomas Hardy, he was also, apart from being a poet and short story writer and a novelist, he was also an architect. And when he was an apprentice, so he was just learning the trade of architecture, he went to a parish, a small village where his job was to supervise the restoration of a church. So the church was in a very dilapidated state, it was almost broken, and that is why the poet Thomas Hardy went there to restore it, to maintain it, to bring it back to his previous glory. And something happened in this place. That place changed him so much that when he came back, it was visible in his posture. And you can see one thing also, why our poet names this place Lyonnesse. The Lyonnesse, the original place, it was famous for churches. So probably that is one reason why Thomas Hardy names this mystical place Lyonnesse. We do not know the name of actual place where he went. Now let's read the poem. When I set out for Lyonnesse, 100 miles away, the Rhine was on the spray, and starlight lit my lonesomeness. When I set out for Lyonnesse, 100 miles away. What would bechance at Lyonnesse while I should sojourn there? No prophet durst declare, nor did the wisest wizard guess what would bechance at Lyonnesse while I should sojourn there. When I returned from Lyonnesse with magic in my eyes, all marked with mute surmise, my radiance rare and fathomless. When I returned from Lyonnesse with magic in my eyes. So, now let's go through the poem line by line. When I set out for Lyonnesse 100 miles away. So, when the poet was going to that parish, it was a long way from his hometown and he had to cover a long way. And what was the weather? It was winter. The rime was on the spring. Rime means snow or frost. Okay, so the snowfall had already been completed and it had settled on all over the trees and plants and roads. So all over it was covered with snow. Starlight lit my lonesomeness. So there was no one to accompany him in that long journey. He was traveling alone. There was only the starlight, a sky full of beautiful stars, which was his companion. He was completely lonely, solitary. And you can see another interesting fact in all the three stanzas, the lines are being repeated. We'll learn about this repetition later. What would bechance at Lyonnesse while I should sojourn there? So, the poet is saying that when he reaches the place of his destination, and the time when he would stay in that place. So, he is not going there for a permanent stay. He will stay there for only a temporary while, only a little while. But no one can tell for sure that what would happen. It's for sure, right? None of us can tell what is going to happen in future. We can guess some things, but not always. We do not know what the future might bring after an hour or after a month. So that is what the poet is saying, that he does not know what awaits him at Lyonnesse. And he also says that no one, it doesn't matter if that person might have magical power, like a wizard. A wizard is someone who has magical power. No wizard or no prophet. Prophet is someone who can see the future, who can predict the future. So none of those people will be able to predict what would happen in that place when he reaches there. No one would be able to say that accurately. Now see, the poet does not talk about his stay in Lyonnesse. He only talks about his journey. He tells that he does not know what would happen when he reaches there in the very first two stanza. But he skips the part when he is there. In the last stanza, he describes the reaction when he comes back. What is he saying? When I returned from Lyonnesse with magic in my eyes, all marked with mute surmise, my radiance rare and fathomless. When I returned from Lyonnesse with magic in my eyes. So, when he is returning, he had magic in his eyes. What does that mean? He could do magic with his eyes? No, not really that. But his eyes had shown that something happened. As we know, our eyes are called the mirror of our mind. Whenever we are happy or sad or whatever emotions we are going through, it can be seen in our eyes. Whenever we are happy, it shows our eyes glitter. And whenever we are sad, our eyes looks very tired. Sometimes they become weepy. So just like that, everyone who had seen the poet after he had come back from that place, they understood that something magical has happened, something wonderful has happened, which made the eyes of the poet shine with brightness, which looked magical. all marked with mute surmise. All means here the other people, everyone who had seen the poet after he come back, they marked. That means they had seen or they noticed. Mark here means to notice something with mute surmise. So they just guessed about what could happen, what could have happened. And but all of them were silent. None of them said anything. They were so surprised. But all of them imagined something, they guessed something, that something wonderful had happened when the poet was in that place, when in that parish. And they also noticed the fact that he had become radiant. Radiant means, he's like glowing, he has become very bright. Not in a literal sense, it doesn't mean that the light was coming out of his body, but it means that his posture, his feature, his facial expression has become very happy, very wonderful, very contented. So it could be seen that whatever had happened in that place, it had made the poet very, very happy. And that is why he is glowing with happiness. And his happiness is fathomless. It could not be measured. It is so great that no one can measure the happiness. And according, we will again go back to the first part of the poem. We will see that in the beginning of the poem, it is said that what actually happened when the poet came back, everyone really noticed that he has a new glow in his eyes and a crumpled piece of paper sticking out of his coat pocket. So when he was in that parish, in that little parish, he scribbled something, which that scribbling, that doodling later compiled into the poem, the very poem we are reading. It was the draft of the poem that we are reading right now. Now let's see the poetic devices or literary devices that has been used in the poem. First one is anaphora. The thing I had told you that in every stanza we are saying that the first two lines are being repeated at the end. All the paragraph, all the stanzas you will see. When I set out for Lyonnesse 100 miles away, again these two lines are being repeated at the end. That's what is happening in the second and third stanza also. So this device is called anaphora, when something, a phrase or lines are being repeated. Second is alliteration. Alliteration, you can also sometimes we connect it with the tongue twisters. What are those? In a line, a few words when they begin with the same consonant sound, that is called alliteration. Like the examples you can see, what would, wisest wizard, marked with mute surmise. So here the M sound or the W sound are being repeated continuously. That is called alliteration. So I hope you have enjoyed the poem, and that's what I would like to say, that visiting some place, oftentimes it changes us. It makes our life beautiful. When we get out of our comfort zone and visit the world, we get to know other people. So don't ever be afraid of getting out of your comfort zone. Always explore your life. That's all for today, students. Thank you. Have a good day.